Right. I mean, the summit is 50%, right? You get to the top and now you got to come back down. You talk about some of the deaths on some of the mountains, Everest being one of them. People will use everything they have to get to the top. It's on their way back down that they often will sit down for a break and never get back up.
No shit.
So a lot of the deaths will occur on the descent from a mountain.
Why is that though?
They have nothing left in them. There's no energy left. They've done the summit. They've come back down, and then maybe cerebral edema is starting to kick in, pulmonary edema. They're getting high altitude sickness, and they just want to break. They want to rest. But physically, I mean, you're wrecked. You're wrecked.
How do you tolerate the cold? Like you don't do any like ice bath and shit like that, do you?
No, I don't. You become comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Got to do it.
That's what you got to do. So it's you got all these.
When I was a kid, my father used to tell me, because I was so driven, why are you always chasing mountains? No matter what I would accomplish, there would be something after that I would be driven to. And my father was, sort of disapprovingly said, why are you always chasing mountains? I'd like to welcome Thomas Comeau, who actually fucking climbs the mountains. Police officer and mountaineer.
Thank you.
I have so many fucking questions.
Let's go.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's start with the prelims. Tell me about your police work.
So I'm starting my 21st year as a police officer this week, actually. So I've been policing the downtown city of Toronto for 21 years. I spent my first 10, 12 years downtown in 51 Division. I got promoted out of there, left, went to work in 12 Division in the northwest end of the city, and then went back to 51 Division, worked in the investigative office. So I've done everything from pushing the car, answering the radio calls, to working in major crime, working on the bikes in the detective office. And now I work in a new unit, a specialized unit called the Community Outreach Response and Engagement Unit. We're partnered with public health. We work with nurses. We go out in teams on foot, and we offer assistance to the underhoused in the downtown core.
The homeless.
The homeless, yeah. People
Right.
with the homeless.
Do you find that has actually scaled up? Is there more homeless living in the downtown core than ever before?
There really seems to be. We have a real issue with housing in the city of Toronto.
Because it's so fucking expensive.
It's very expensive. And if you're someone that doesn't work and you have addictions and mental health issues, it can be, very, very difficult. So we do have a lot of underhoused, a lot of vulnerable people that we try to help down in the downtown core. And they're down there because a lot of the services are down in the downtown core.
Oh, I always wondered why they would congregate there.
Right. So that's why you see them mostly in the downtown core. They're not out in the north ends of the city, other ends of the city. They're, for the most part, downtown, and that's where we work out of.
Because the Queen Street Mental Hospital would be close to there, correct?
CAMH is...
CAMH, that's
right.
what it is.
CAMH
My father
is
used
just,
to work there.
Yeah, so it's just a little further to the west, but it is downtown as well. Yeah.
Okay. And how would you deal with them?
With somebody when we come across them?
Yes.
So again, we work in teams with public health nurses. And
Yep.
We'll approach them. We usually try to have a conversation with them, see how their day is going, start off that way. And then the nurse will take over and see if there's any kind of services we can offer them in terms of dental, medical. We try to get them onto housing lists. Sometimes just temporary shelter. If it's a cold day or if it's really hot, we try to get them temporary shelter. And we'll hand out bottles of water as well. And we have kits to help them get through the day. So it's really a conversation with them. We try to sign them up into this case management program, and the nurses have been doing an amazing job. So it's two small teams, two I guess you could call them platoons of 8 officers each, with a supervisor on each team. And yeah, it's been going great. It was a 1-year pilot, but it's being extended, so we're going to be down there and trying to do the best we can.
What do you think makes up the largest component of homeless people?
What do you mean?
In terms of why do you think the largest demographic of homeless is made up of what? People with addiction, people that are just simply unable to afford housing? Is it immigration? What do you think is the largest cause?
That's a tough question. I think everyone has a different story. Sometimes it might start with mental health issues. Sometimes it's just something at home, relationships with family members. Sometimes it is drug abuse issues. They get into some sort of drugs and it takes over their lives, unfortunately. So it's really tough to point to one specific thing, but there's definitely an issue downtown. We see it all, and by the time we deal with them, there's often a combination of, like I said, the mental health compounded with the drugs, and then many times they don't have a home to go back to or family to go back to.
No support system.
No support system, because a lot of them aren't even from the city. They'll come in from outside of the city. So their support systems, if they do exist, are hundreds of miles from downtown Toronto.
What are the knee-jerk reactions people chirp off on when they see homelessness? Get a fucking job, right? And I don't think it's quite as easy as that. I don't think that's the solution, particularly if you are dealing with mental health issues, which I am very sympathetic towards. Drug-related issues, I'm more prone to being an asshole about it because I don't have sympathy for people that get addicted. And that's probably something I'm lacking in terms of compassion. But yeah, I think anyone who suffers from mental health and their life suffers because of that, I am deeply sympathetic towards.
Yeah. Yeah. They're vulnerable people. So
yes,
if there is mental health issues, for example, and they're downtown and they're by themselves and they have no money, they have no friends, they get taken advantage of. So, somebody comes along and says, have some of this, it's going to make you feel better. Everything's going to be great. Maybe they try it and the addiction happens. It happens very, very quickly.
Okay.
And it's very hard to get off of as well. And so they end up being indebted to the dealer or to the person that gives it to them. And now, they're out trying to find ways to pay for those drugs because that's the only thing that maybe helps them makes them feel a little bit better.
Escape from the reality.
That's reality.
Interesting. I didn't think of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty savvy business strategy. You get them addicted and now they're fucking indebted to you and they'll do whatever they can to take away that pain.
Yeah, the first one's always free. That's what we see. The first one's always free. And I've had conversations actually with some people and we often get to that. How did you get to this point? Like you're living on the street, you have nothing. And we start talking about when they got into the drugs, and that is almost always the case. That first one's always free. I thought he was my friend. I thought she was my friend, and they're on the streets.
What do you think would be the best way to solve this problem?
Oh, if I had that answer, I'd probably be the mayor. That's the $1 million question. I don't know the answer. I think it's very complicated. It's very complex. But that's why we have a team like the Corps. It reflects our chief's dedication to helping vulnerable people. So he wants to keep the city of Toronto safe, and that includes the vulnerable population. So he came up with this unit, with our core unit, and we do the best we can. We work with the public health nurses, one person at a time. We're not going to be able to help everybody.
But don't you find that frustrating that you can't help everybody? Because that one person you do help, there's 10 others that are going to suffer. That would fucking eat me alive, man. Because it's just like when you go into adopt a puppy, and we're not on the same level, but you go into adopt that one puppy, and there's all those other puppies in there that want to be saved. Do you find that people want help?
Some do, some don't. Yeah, some just want to be left alone. Some do want the help. They're the ones we try to focus on. Although we always keep an eye. We don't forget the forest for the trees. So the person that maybe rejects the help on day one, maybe by day 50, now they see, okay, you know what, maybe I could use some help going to see the doctor, or maybe get some ID so I can start the process of paying my taxes to get on a list to get housing. So we offer the assistance to everyone. We can't help everybody. You're right. You can't help everyone, but we do the best we can. And if we can get 1, 2, 3 people off the street, I think it's an amazing thing. These are human beings.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
So your hobby, what sparked this itch that you needed to scratch?
So my first experience at high altitude was about 11 years ago. So my wife and I, we flew down to Peru with this great idea to do the Inca Trail. We're going to hike the Inca Trail. It's going to be amazing. We're going to go see Machu Picchu at the end of it, one of the wonders of the world.
Yeah.
So we flew down. We got off the plane in Cusco. And Cusco sits at about 10,000 feet. So you're already at high altitude when you land. My wife was sick from the second she stepped off that airplane, and she was not happy. So
had she ever trained for altitude before?
She was fit. She was very fit. She hadn't trained specifically for altitude because, that's difficult to do, although there's a new gym now, but it's difficult to do. But so she was fit, and she just got off the plane, and some people don't acclimate. That's just the reality. Some people don't do well at altitude for whatever reason. You can run marathons, but if you're not a person that can acclimate, it just never gets...
And that would be what, genetic?
Genetic. Yeah, it's a genetic thing. You really can't.
I went to train in Colorado, dude. That's no fucking joke. It is a real difference.
Yeah.
And there was a gym that opened up recently, Air Locker, and you're working in, it's high altitude training, and it's incredible. First of all, leaving there you feel amazing, but training in there you get fatigued so much quicker.
You do. Yeah, you're working. You don't realize what's happening inside of you when you're working at high altitude like that. Your body's working harder, your systems are working harder, your muscles are working harder. So So we did this hike. My wife hated every second of it. I loved it. I never had an issue.
How long is the trail?
It's 4 days. So it's not that bad. It's
No,
4
fuck you,
days.
4 days, dude, out in the jungle.
4 days when you're miserable, yeah.
Yeah.
But she pushed through. I mean, it was amazing. She did it, and I was really proud of her. So we finished it. We got to Machu Picchu. We got poured on. It was amazing, but we still enjoyed that trip.
Yeah.
But she said to me, if you ever want to go back to something like that, a high altitude trek or climb, you're on your own. So time went on, passed by, and I was at work one day. I was working in the detective office at 51 Division, and my partner and I, we were talking about hiking and traveling, and I told him, I really want to do the Everest Base Camp trek. I want to go to Nepal. And he says, well, so do I. And he said, but my wife really doesn't want to do it. And I said, well, now that it was my wife, let's do it together. So we got the okays and we booked the trip. COVID came up and it slowed things down. But in 2022, we flew to Nepal. My partner and I from work, we flew to Nepal. We did the Everest Base Camp trek. And that's over the course of about 2 weeks. So you trek to an altitude of 5,367 meters. So it's the bottom of the top of the world, we call it. It's base camp for Everest. All the tents were there because it was a spring climbing season. So all the climbers were there doing their acclimatization rotations and getting ready to summit the mountain. And I was looking through the mountains, or looking at the mountains as I'm doing the trek, and I thought, you know what? I don't want to just hike anymore. I want to climb. So we got back to Toronto. I told my wife, and she was okay. She understood that when I say I want to do something, it's probably going to get done. So she was supportive. So you understand. So the following year, I went back to Nepal, and I climbed my first 6,000 meter peak. So I climbed a mountain called Lobuche East Peak. It's about 6,100 meters. So you're up at around 20,000 feet. It was tough. So you do the Everest Base Camp trek basically again. So just before you get to Everest Base Camp, you turn off to get to Lobuche because it's a mountain that you pass before you get to Everest. So we did that climb. Incredible. Very difficult. It was very, very challenging.
2 weeks, correct?
It's about 2 weeks. Yeah, it's about 2 weeks. So I did that climb, came back down, and I actually went to another base camp. I was maybe going to climb another mountain called Amadablam.
At the same time?
Right after that mountain. Yeah, so I came down and we raced to Amadablam base camp. We got there in 2 days because we had to stop. We had really bad weather. We got lost, actually. The Sherpas never admitted it to me, but I know we were lost because I saw the same thing a couple times. I think we were walking around in circles. But we eventually got to Amadablam base camp, and at base camp I decided I was spent from Lobuche. I wasn't feeling that great, so I didn't climb Amadablam. So that was Lobuche. And I got back home, and you recover, and all you can think about, what's the next one? What am I going to do next? So following year, this is last year now, in 2024, I went to Ecuador, and I climbed 3 peaks there. So I did, and the highest of them was a mountain called Ilanitza Norte. So Ilanitza North. It's about a 5,100, 5,200 meter mountain. And it's challenging. It's a really good mountain, and used to acclimatize for mountains like Cotopaxi. Cotopaxi is an active volcano in Ecuador, and it actually faces Ilanitza Norte. It's beautiful. You can see it from the peak. So we summited that mountain, amazing. Came back down.
How long did it take?
You do that one in a day. That one in a day. So Ecuador is an interesting thing because we live at sea level in Toronto, 100 meters, 100 feet above sea level. I flew to Ecuador, and I'd been training at the specialized gym now in the downtown of Toronto. It's an amazing gym, altitude athletic training, large chamber. You're at 10,000 feet all the time. But as you prepare...
So is that gym specific for mountaineering, or is there any kind of training?
Endurance athletes. Okay. So you're running a marathon, you're a swimmer, you're a cyclist, you're all those sports. It's a great gym for those types of athletes. Great for MMA as well. Because a lot of those MMA fighters will fly to Colorado, they'll fly to Utah to train at altitude. There's a boxer I see in the gym all the time. So he trains at this gym as well. So I'd been training there, and it really helped me because when I landed in Ecuador, so I flew from Toronto, landed in Ecuador, my guide picked me up. We drove to Cotopaxi and hiked up to the high camp, which is at 4,400 meters, I think, somewhere around there. So I'd gone from sea level to about 15,000 feet in less than 24 hours, and I was fine. I felt fine because that's not normal. Your body has to acclimatize to that kind of altitude.
So when you say you felt fine, what does it feel like when you don't feel fine?
You'll have headaches, nausea, can't breathe, obviously. So you have issues with your lungs. But the nausea is the big thing. Dizziness. It can progress into more serious symptoms as well, but at that point, you're in a lot of trouble. So that doesn't happen normally right away either. But I didn't have any of those symptoms. I had no headaches. My vision was fine. I felt good. So that was Ecuador. Then last year, I went to Tanzania and did Kilimanjaro. So I climbed Kilimanjaro. We did a rapid ascent of a route called the Marengo route. It's called the Coca-Cola route because it's the fancy route. You sleep in these little huts that are really beautiful instead of tents. So they call it the Coca-Cola route.
It's still a hut, dude.
It's a hut. It's still a hut.
Okay.
So it's not the Ritz-Carlton, but it's pretty good comparatively speaking. So we did Kilimanjaro, amazing.
How long?
You did, so it was a 7-day climb. You summit on day 5. So you summit on day 5. It's a rapid ascent. We climb it quite quickly. Summit it. It was great. The whole team did it. We had great guides, great leaders. I climbed with a company called AGA Adventures. Adriana Brownlee, Galjan Sherpa, world record holders, amazing people. So we did that climb, came back down, and then it was time to plan the next one. I went back to Ecuador at the beginning of this year, and I climbed Cotopaxi. So the mountain that I was looking at from across the way, I did Cotopaxi. That one's it's 5,800 meters. So it's around 18,000 feet, somewhere around there, 19,000 feet. Beautiful climb. You do it in one night, but it's a night climb. You usually climb at night because it reduces the risk of avalanche. Yeah, so we always climb at night. So summit pushes are always at night because as you get higher, you get risks of rockfall and avalanche. But when it's nighttime, it's really cold, so the snow is like ice. Everything's cold, so it's probably not going to have an avalanche, hopefully. So we did that climb. It's about a 7-hour-ish climb. I think we left around 11:30 p.m. from the high camp, and we summited at about 7 a.m. So it was about 7.5 hours. Tough push, but we did the summit. Beautiful. The views are amazing.
Can you imagine sunrise, dude?
It was the sunrise because we got to the top in the dark, and then the sun came up. And I tell you, I mean, people ask, why do you do these climbs? But if you go to one of these summits and you look around and you're looking across, everywhere, and the sun's coming up, it is unbelievable. And you get the shadow of the mountains too. So you see the big, the pyramid-shaped shadow of the mountain casted down on the land below, and it's really something. So that was earlier this year, and then in a couple months.
You take photos of all this shit, I would imagine.
I take a lot of photos.
Yeah, I want to get those and put them on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send some over. So that was earlier this year, and then I'm getting ready to go back to Nepal in 2 months for my next climb. I'm bringing a group. We're going to do Everest Base Camp Trek, again with AGA Adventures with Adriana and Galji, and then I'm going to climb Island Peak. So it's another 6,000, or it's about 6,100 meters. And this world you have to plan ahead because of just getting time off work and the money and whatnot. I'm booked for next year. Next year I'm going back to Tanzania in August with a group, again with AGA Adventures. We're going to do Kilimanjaro, come back to Toronto for 2 weeks to recover, and then I fly back to Nepal for my first 8,000 meter peak. And I'm going to try Manaslu, which is 8,163 meters. So it's about almost 27,000 feet.
Getting up there, dude.
We're getting up there.
Everest is what, 29?
Everest is 8,848 meters, so it's about 29,000 and change.
It is so admirable. It's not, to me, it's not even about, the majesty of what you see and how majestic the sunrise would be. It's, you are pushing yourself to a degree that most people wouldn't even think of. It's like, there's the physical aspect on your body. There's a huge mental game that I want to get into it with you. There's the fucking cold, right? There's the risk of death. I mean, I've heard that Everest, the trek to Everest is just littered with dead bodies, right? They're just frozen because you can't take them down with you. So they're just laying there as a sign as to fuck around and find out. And despite all of that, you still persevere. And that is just superhero shit to me.
It's not an easy sport, that's for sure. But it's once you start and it gets under your skin, you can't. It's hard to stop.
What's more important, lungs or legs?
Lungs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is a tougher toll on your body, the mental aspect or the physical?
Well, on your body, the physical for sure, but the mental, it's probably, I'd say it's a 60% mental game. So you have to be fit, obviously, to go try to do these climbs and prepare for them. But the whole way up, especially when it's cold, and you don't feel great, and you're not eating well, and you can't sleep, your brain is telling you, because your survival instinct comes up, right? It's saying, what are you doing, stupid? Like, turn around and go back down.
Fucking go to Pizza Hut.
That's what it's saying to you, but you have to push through that, and that's the challenge, is the mental game. When everything inside you is saying, like, this is not a good idea, and you make the decision, no, I'm going to keep going, that's the challenge.
That's what I did. That's why I wanted to bring you on here, because to me, everything is mental. Your mind will give in far sooner than your body will. Yeah. And, for you, you're up on a fucking mountain. So for you, like, people, when they train, they give up, they just pack their shit up, they go in the locker room and they go home. You, like, I got to get the fuck down this mountain, right? So giving up, there's a lot more involved than the regular anybody doing any other sport.
That's right. I mean, the summit is 50%, right? You get to the top and now you got to come back down.
That's fucking right.
And people forget. I mean, that's where, you talk about some of the deaths on some of the mountains, Everest being one of them. But people will use everything they have to get to the top. It's on their way back down that they often will sit down for a break and never get back up.
No shit.
So a lot of the deaths will occur on the descent from a mountain.
Why is that though?
They have nothing left in them. There's no energy left. They've done the summit. They've come back down, and then maybe cerebral edema is starting to kick in, pulmonary edema. They're getting high altitude sickness, and they just want to break. They want to rest. And there's stories of people, even though it's freezing, it's minus 50 degrees, it's minus 40 degrees. They're trying to take off their down suits because they feel like it's too hot. Because their brain is playing tricks on them because they're having a cerebral edema. There's pressure on the brain. So they're trying to take their down suits off, or they're trying to take off their crampons or get rid of gear because they're not thinking straight. So that's often what happens is the death doesn't occur on the way up, it's on the way down. They sit down for a quick stop and just never get back up. So yeah, it's 50% to get to the top. There's a great saying that the summit is, I'm going to mess up the wording, but getting to the summit is optional, getting down is mandatory. The descent is mandatory because, obviously you want to get back home safely, but the descent is difficult. It's really hard on the knees and on the ankles. It's brutal on the knees. Descending. You think about going downstairs.
Yeah.
You're going down a set of stairs. Well, imagine doing that for 2 days, going down, trying to climb down a mountain. So it's difficult.
Okay, so how often, if we take, say, even let's just do a day's ascent, right? How often do you stop? Like, do you take breaks?
For
you
little
have
breaks?
to take breaks.
Yeah, you'll take a little break, have a little drink of water, you'll check your gear, a quick chat with your guide, and then off you go as well. But the breaks are very, very short.
How short?
Very short, 5 minutes.
That's not a break, dude.
Yeah, 5 minutes. If you're doing an 8,000 meter peak and there's camps that you go along, they'll stop at the camp, have a meal. They might stay there for the night and then move on the next day. But when you're doing a one night climb or a single day climb, the breaks are very short. Sometimes when we did Kilimanjaro last year, I found the breaks were really short because I could barely get the water out of my pack to have a sip before I had to put it back in before we were moving back up because they want to keep that people going. Because you stop too long, now you start thinking, well,
yeah,
you know what? I did pretty good. Maybe I should go back down. They don't want that. They want you to really be focused and keep going.
When you say that you stop and have a meal, is there like places that actually feed you, or you got to eat your own shitty food?
No, the guides. So we'll talk about Nepal, for example. So the Sherpa will bring up. They have little cook sets, and they'll make. You're not eating a steak dinner, but you're going to have noodles. It's going to be high carb.
For sure, yeah.
So you're eating noodles. You might have some rice. Everybody's got their protein bars, and I'll have my protein bars. Or you're eating, different types of energy gels, that sort of thing, to get those carbs in you. But you'd be surprised, actually, the food that they can make at those high altitudes. It's really incredible what the Sherpa can do. But yeah, the challenge really is getting that food in you because you're not hungry, even though you need to be eating. Mm-hmm. When you're up at high altitude, your systems are shutting down. So all of your blood's going to your brain, your lungs to keep you alive, but your stomach, you're not hungry. You can't eat because you don't feel great. So, and you're afraid too, Mike, what if I have to go to the bathroom? Like, what am I going to do now, right?
Shit, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Exactly. So those are the things that run through your mind, but really it's difficult to eat, but you force yourself to down what you can just to have that energy. Otherwise you really feel terrible.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll stop periodically, you'll eat forcibly, and then you get, do you think I would think that part of the problem coming down is that you've reached the summit, there's that sense of completion, there's that elation of achieving something, and then to me, I would think that coming down is just secondary, it's almost like annoyingly so.
It's, I think when you have some experience, that's probably just as important, if not more important, than hitting that summit. You get that summit. That's the goal. It's amazing. You get up there. You got your high fives.
That's where you get to crow about. Oh, I got to the summit. It's not like, well, I came back down.
But if you don't come back down, then it's because you're probably dead, right? So that's why really it's 50% up and then 50% down. With I think the most important part is getting back down safely, so you can get back home to your family.
Mm. Right? So you go up with a group.
Yeah.
How many people in a group?
It depends. When I climb Manaslu next year, our group will be small. There may be 3 or 4 Western climbers, and we'll have one Sherpa each. So it'll be 3 or 4 Sherpas as well. You have your own guide.
Oh.
Yeah.
And when you say guide, do they actually say where to go?
They lead the way. In Nepal and Pakistan, a lot of the big mountains, the 8,000 meter mountains and the 6,000 meter mountains in Nepal, they're fixed lines. So the lines are fixed by the Sherpa at the beginning of the season.
What do you mean the line is fixed?
So there's a rope. They bring a rope up, which they'll attach with ice screws up the route. And then you attach to the fixed rope using an ascender, call it a Jumar. So it's a handheld device that helps pull yourself up that mountain. So they set that line with the guide. They help you up the mountain. And the guide will also, they're motivating you. They're checking on you, making sure everything's okay. If you're going to supplemental oxygen, and that happens on the 8,000 meter peaks, They're checking your oxygen. They're making sure that's working properly. They want to make sure you're all right because they're checking on you as well, because you might be suffering from cerebral edema. You might not be thinking straight anymore. So they're going to be talking to you like, is he still acting normally? Is everything okay? If you're not, they're going to turn you around, try to get you back down.
Okay, so let's play that out. You're on Queer Street and they decide that you need to come back down. So they take you all the way back down.
They'll try to turn you around, and there's lots of stories of clients arguing with them. No, I'm fine. Everything's great. And it's tough. The Sherpas have an amazingly difficult job. And, the Sherpas in Nepal or the guides in Pakistan, it's very, very difficult. But a good guide will look you straight and say, it's not going to happen this year. Let's go. Let's turn you around. Let's get you back home safely. And if they can reason with that client, they'll then guide them back down the mountain. And sometimes to a helicopter rescue. So you might go down to a lower altitude where a chopper can come in and pick you up, take you out.
That is some scary shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, mountaineering, deep sea, scuba diving, these are sports that you fuck up and you die.
Yeah, you push the envelope, that's for sure.
Yes.
So you have to do it as safely as possible. And, the part of that's partnering with good guiding companies. We were talking before, I mentioned the cost of climbing mountains like Everest. Everest is the one that everyone knows.
Yes.
So we'll use Everest. Everest is typically between $50,000 to $100,000 US to climb. That's if you use a reputable guiding company with good Sherpa, good guides. That includes, so that'll be all of the logistics. It'll, your tent, all the food, all that, all the way up, the tent's all the way up. It'll be probably 3 or 4 bottles of oxygen on the way up to the top. It's going to cover your guiding fee, so your Sherpa. And
what is a Sherpa?
You know what? I don't know what they make, but it's not enough. Whatever it is they make, it's not enough because they put their lives on the line for what they do. And there's a lot of Sherpas that pass away, and you never hear about it. But it's a really difficult job. What they make, I don't know, but it's not enough. Whatever it is. But so it covers all those things. The things you're looking at on top are like tips, summit tips. If you want a chopper out, if that's not included. So sometimes the heli will cost a little bit more.
Oh, wait. So can you get to the top and get a helicopter to take your ass off?
Not from the top, no. It's too high. Too high. Choppers can't go that high.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
They'll normally, I think their roof is like, in the mid to high 7,000s. There's some stories, sometimes they can get a little bit higher, but it's, very, very risky. And some of these chopper pilots are unbelievable. They are incredible, the things that they do, and they fly in gear, or they pick up people that need to be rescued, the long line rescues, where they drop the line down and they get attached and flown out.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable.
Okay, but playing that out, you're saying that they got maybe a max height of 7,000. Anything
like that.
Above that, you got to get your ass back down to 7,000.
Yeah. So the guides will try to get them down. So here's a great story. I love the story. It's my friend Galji Sherpa, and it got picked up by the Western media as it should a couple of years ago. So in 2023, he was guiding on Everest, bringing a client up Everest, and he came across a climber who had been abandoned. He was right by the balcony, so around 8,400, 8,500 meters on Everest. So you're up at about 27,000 feet,
so almost at the top.
Feet. Very close. He was close. But he was dying. He was on the ground, and he would have died. So Galji sees him, no guide with him, and made the decision that, we're abandoning our summit push, and we're going to rescue him. And Galji picked him up, put him on his back, and carried him down, brought him down to Camp 4, where he hooked up with another Sherpa. They got him fashioned in some special equipment, and they carried him down. I think it was to Camp 3, where a chopper could come pick him up, and he was heli rescued. But he carried him on his back. So unbelievable.
You found him at 27?
Yeah, you found him around 27,000 feet.
Okay, and he had to carry him to what?
Down to Camp 4 on the South Col, which sits at about 7,800, 8,000 meters. They set him up so they could carry him further down, and then they brought him down to, I believe it was Camp 3, where a chopper was able to come pick him up because they couldn't get any higher. They can't get up to the South Col, and flew him out to safety, which is unbelievable. And that was Galji. If you meet Galji, you love Galji because he's an incredible person, incredible human. He's one of the top climbers in the world. I'm lucky to be friends with him. And I hear that story. And when that story broke, it made sense because if you know Galji, that's what he's going to do. He's going to rescue people. Because often on those 8,000 meter mountains, if you sit down for that break and don't get back up, you're kind of on your own. And you alluded to it before. It's because they can't get you down safely. It's very difficult because even the Sherpa, the guides that are taking you up the mountain, they're pushing into the envelope, the edge of the envelope as well. It's difficult for them. So to then have to carry, a 200-pound person down that mountain, very, very difficult, very, very risky. So oftentimes that's why the bodies are on the mountain still because they can't bring them down. So, but sometimes happens they're just kind of pushed off to the side, so they're off the main route, so people can keep doing the climb, and that's possibly what would have happened to this climber if Gelji hadn't stopped.
That's got to be a mind fuck, making that ascent and seeing all these bodies littered on the side.
Yeah, people talk about that. I mean, I've not done an 8,000er yet, but when I'm on Manaslu, you know, that's something that you see sometimes, and you have to just kind of look away from it, I guess. And if you recognize that it's a possibility, then you know you can work through it.
So, Gelji, you got him, and I presume that the mountaineer he was with was at 27,000. You had 2,000 meters to go to hit the summit.
2,000 feet.
2,000 feet, sorry. Yeah. 2,000 feet to hit the summit of Mount Everest. And he decided, fuck it, we're going to take this guy back down.
Yeah.
How did the mountaineer feel?
His client?
Yeah.
Apparently the client was really good about it and understood and said, no, that's fine, which is amazing, right?
Yes.
It's humans being humans.
Yeah.
Because the problem, and you often hear stories about this as well, there's something called summit fever. So, you know, you're climbing that mountain and all you see is that summit, and you want to get to that summit because you've spent, you know, $50,000. You've been away from your family for 2 months. You want to get that summit. And you forget all those things that make us human, helping other people. And especially on that summit push at the end of that climb, and you know, seeing somebody like that, and other climbers had passed him already, so he'd been lying there, and other people had gone by and said, you know, sorry, we'll see ya, and kept going.
Oh, that's some cool shit.
It is. I mean, it's the reality, and so Gelji, just being the person that he is, stopping and seeing him, and just said, no, this is not. You know, I can't climb over him to get to the summit with my client. He had that chat with his client. The client was good with it, which is amazing.
Yes.
And they made this
and
decision.
Clearly, as you said, there were clients that decided, fuck that guy, and kept going to the summit.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Holy shit. That's cold, man.
Yeah.
So before we continue on with people have to wonder, how do you actually train to start climbing mountains?
So for me, I've been very, very fortunate, and anybody in the city of Toronto is fortunate to have access to this gym, Altitude Athletic Training downtown where I go. I believe it's the largest chamber in North America. It might be in the world. The chamber itself, the main gym, we'll call it, is set at 10,000 feet. So as soon as you step through those doors, you're at 10,000 feet. So, you know, whatever training you're doing on the inside.
What kind of training would you do?
So I'm doing mostly cardio. There's some strength training. I'd say it's 30 to 40% strength training, 70% cardio.
Okay.
So I'm on the stairs or I'm on a treadmill at a high incline. They'll go up to 25, the number 25, I think it's 25% incline.
Yeah.
And I'll do my cardio for an hour. But I usually, when I'm getting ready for a climb, getting ready to leave, I start using the generator as well. So they have the ability, you wear a mask, it's an oxygen mask. They can reduce the oxygen that you're breathing up to about 21,000 feet. So they'll simulate 21,000 feet. So right now, for example, I'm about 7 weeks out from my next trip. I'm at about 18,000 feet when I do my cardio. So I'll do an hour of incline cardio at 18,000 feet. So it's amazing. Helps to acclimate a little bit. And it adds a layer to your training, and it gives you that mental, your brain knows that, okay, I'm okay. It's 18,000 feet. I'm okay. This is the amount of oxygen I have. So when you get to Nepal, when you get to Ecuador, when you get to wherever you're going, it's already had that. You felt it already. So your brain's telling you, you can do this. You're all right. So,
right.
Yeah, it's an incredible gym, amazing trainers, and that's typically where I train.
But I would presume that there are people that climb that don't have access to that kind of training.
Yeah, there would be. So, I mean, they're probably doing, I can't say for sure, their training is likely going to be similar to mine, 60, 70% cardio with some strength training. You can't build big, thick muscles and go into the mountains because those muscles need oxygen.
Yep.
So it's very difficult
but you're
for
a big
you to
dude.
get that. Yeah, but I work my cardio really, really hard. So cardio is the most important thing. You asked before, lungs or legs? Definitely the lungs. Because if your lungs give out, doesn't matter how strong your legs are, they're not going anywhere. So you need the lung strength.
Okay, so so for someone who doesn't have access to that, they would still have to, I presume that they're still working, say, a 60, 70% cardio, 30 to 40% strength.
Yeah.
But they are severely handicapped in comparison to what you're able to train with.
If they don't have access to the type of gym I have, they are. There are companies out there that you can rent these generator boxes from those, and I see that sometimes. Or they can sleep in they call hypoxico tents. So there's a company, I think they're based in the States, they'll send you the generator, you rent the generator, and you set up, it's basically a tent around your bed, and you'll go to sleep at night at 18,000 feet or 17,000 feet. And that helps, get the red blood cells produced in the bloodstream, get the brain used to being at high altitude. Apparently it's horrendous because you're sleeping at 18,000 feet from wherever you live. So let's say it's Toronto. You spend your day at sea level, then you go to bed and it's 18,000 feet and you don't feel great. So it takes some time to acclimate to that. But anybody that's mountaineering, anybody that's climbing at high altitude, it's all about acclimatization. So it's always slow. You always take your time going up. It's never a race. You have to give your body that ability to acclimatize. Otherwise, you're not going to feel well. It doesn't matter how well prepared you are. If you try to shoot up too high too fast, you'll get sick.
So then you got to just start slow.
Yeah, and that's the same with the Sherpa. They live there. They live at 3,000 meters, at 4,000 meters. But even for them, if they were to just shoot up to the top of Everest, they would die because you can't do that. So even they have to acclimatize when they do their climbs.
So when you say acclimatize, that means you have to get your body used to it slowly.
That's right.
Now, I presume that could be two ways, either ascending mountains that are not as high and then or slowly going up the mountain. Yeah. So you can acclimatize that way.
Yeah. So it's always slow. It's typically it's climb high, sleep low. So when you're in Nepal, for example, when you're hiking, let's say you're going from the first village to the second village, you might have 800 meters of altitude gain.
Yeah.
You'll sleep there, but the next day you might go up 100 meters, spend some time up there, have some tea, then come back down. And that sleep you have that second night, because there are a couple villages where you stop for a couple nights. It's a far better sleep because you're acclimatized. And then you go to the next village, and you spend your time there for the night. Then you go to the next village, and that's the acclimatization process. And that's why on the 8,000 meter peaks it takes so long, because they're doing acclimatization rotations. So they're not arriving at base camp. Again, we'll use Everest as the example. They're not arriving at base camp and then shooting for the summit on the first weather window. They're going to go up to Camp 1, up to maybe to Camp 2, and then they're going to come back down. And then they rest for a few days. Then they're going to go up to Camp 1, up to Camp 2. Maybe they'll touch Camp 3, come back down. Now they're ready to go. Because after Camp 3, they're probably going to go on supplemental oxygen anyways. So now they come back down. Now they're waiting for the weather windows. And that's the problem on Everest, is the weather window. So the winds on the top of Everest are deadly, because the what's the name of the winds? The winds that come across from the Indian Sea, the Bay of Bengal. I can't think of the name now, but the winds come through, they're deadly. But for a short time in May, typically, normally around the end of May, those winds die down, and that's the weather window. That's the window that they can do the summit push. So some
most
years,
climbers are going to Everest in May?
They're arriving in April, and they're usually summiting mid to late May. That's typically the window. That's why it's a 2-month expedition. So they try to get acclimatized as quickly as they can. So they get acclimatized, and then they can sit and wait and watch for that weather window. They can rest, regain some of their strength, because they're living at 5,400 meters. So it's it's pretty tough. You don't heal the same way. You get a little cut on your finger, it doesn't heal, because your body doesn't heal at that altitude. But they'll wait for that weather window. It's the jet stream. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. The jet stream cuts across the top of Everest. So the winds will be 100 miles an hour. It'll blow you right off the mountain.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So when the weather window opens, when that jet stream shifts over a little bit, all the climbers go. And that's when you see those photos of the big long lines on the Everest, on the Hillary Step. They're all waiting to make that push, because the weather window might be only a day or two. On really good years, the weather window will be a little bit longer, so that every team isn't going up there at the exact same time, and they're able to make that climb, make that summit push, and hopefully be successful. So that's the reason why it takes so long, is that they're acclimatizing, because they can't do it in a single push. It's just it's not possible to go that high. Although they're starting to test these new gases. There was a team from the UK this past year who did it in 7 days. They were using xenon gas, and I don't understand the science of it at all, but they were using xenon gas. They trained in the UK and in Europe. They got themselves ready. They were waiting, and when the weather window opened, they jumped on an airplane, flew to base camp, and boom, did the push. And they did it in 7 days. They summited, which is unheard of, because that's not the way it normally is.
How long does it normally take?
2 months. 2 months. It's an 8-week push. It's sorry, not an 8-week push. It's an 8-week expedition. The summit push. So when the team leaves base camp to get to the top,
yes,
3 days, 4 days.
Yeah. Wow. Do you think there's going to be advancements in technology that's going to make this easier, as you said, with this xenon gas?
I think technology always makes things a little easier. I think there will be some more improvements, and maybe people will use those gases. But then there's the debate. Adriana Brownlee, I heard a talk she gave one time, and she said this expedition should be 8 weeks. You should experience the full thing. You should fly in, trek to base camp, do your acclimatization rotations. It's part of the experience. You meet the other mountaineers. You get to be close with your Sherpa. You get to understand the mountain. And I mean, it's a god in Nepal. Everest is called Sagamartha. It's a god in Nepal. Or Chomolungma is another name for the mountain. And to just race there and fly up and fly back down.
Sure.
There's benefits for people who work. I mean, you're not going to be off work for 2 months. You can fly in, get that job done, and get back home. So I understand that part of it. But I think I agree with the traditional thought that it should be a longer expedition.
I can see that. I think you need to fully experience it.
Yeah, 100%.
So as I understand it, there's 7 summits.
There
Everest
are,
being the top.
so the 7 summits refers to the highest peaks on each continent. There are 14 mountains above 8,000 meters.
Right. And so what's your goals?
So, I mean, I'm going to do my first 8,000 meter peak next year. I've been, all of the climbs I've done really are in preparation of gaining skill, getting confidence on the mountains and high altitude. So my first.
So let's play that out.
Yeah.
What do you mean by gaining skill? I mean, confidence will come from experience, successful climbs, not dying. So, but what skills does one need to acquire in order to start climbing shit?
So the use of the crampons is the first thing. Right? That's the most basic. The crampons, those big ice spikes you put on the bottom of your big boots. So being able to walk in those, because it's difficult. They're heavy. You're catching on the ice and the rock and the snow. So it's getting used to walking in those. Using equipment like the Jumar, the Ascender, I think I mentioned earlier, which is that device you clip into the rope when you're on a fixed rope type climb and pulling yourself up. How do you change it out? When you get to the next section, you got to take it off and put it on the next one. So
is there any danger when you're releasing from that to get to the next one?
If you're not using a safety line as well, because usually you're clipped into the rope as well.
Okay.
So sometimes, you're not thinking straight, maybe you're taking that off, and that's accidents do happen. You're not fixed to that rope, you slip, and now you're falling down the mountain basically, because it's so steep in some sections. Or you'll have exposure where it's thousands of feet both sides, and if you fall, there's no catching yourself. So those are the types of skills, using that equipment, the belay devices, the descending devices, the figure 8 devices, or the ATC device, which is the little piece of equipment you use when you're coming back down the mountain, because sometimes it's too steep to just walk straight down. You have to belay back down the mountain. So being able to use those pieces of equipment, just putting on your harness properly, all these little things that you don't think about, those are skills that you learn in the lower climbs, and that's what I've been working on. Because there are some people that just say, you know what, I think next year I want to go climb Everest, and they've never done anything before. And I mean, sometimes they're successful, sometimes they are. More often than not, they're not, and it's a lot of money, and it's very dangerous, and you're not only putting yourself at risk, you're putting all those other climbers at risk too, because you're the person at the top that can't get that next part because you can't remember how to use that Jumar, and all those other people that do know how, they're waiting for you because it's one rope, so they can't go until you go, so it's dangerous for everybody else. So I think it's irresponsible to go do some of these climbs if you don't have the experience, if you haven't learned some of those skills before getting to the mountain. So that's what I've tried to focus on, try to get all that training first, so that when I go to Manaslu next year with Galgi, with Adriana, I'm not putting them in danger or any more danger than there already is, or the other people on my team, that I'll be able to do the climb and have the skills to do it successfully.
There's 2 boner killers for me in this, because the appeal of climbing these mountains to for someone like me is so appealing. I mean, it's just such a daunting goal that I fucking dig it. But I hate camping, dude. And I don't think I would be compassionate that I'm trying to ascend to a summit and somebody, because they're a fucking idiot, is slowing me down. Like, that's why I don't like team sports. It's either all me or like I'm not a team player.
Yeah.
So, but oh dude, like that's why I was so excited to speak to you, because it's, my God, climbing these fucking mountains, like these defying, fuck you, I'm gonna kill you if you can't conquer me. Like, dude, that's literally it. You either, I'm gonna conquer you or you're gonna kill me. And I love that shit. But if I'm climbing with you and you're some fucking idiot, and I'm gonna be upset with you.
Yeah. And I don't want to be that guy, right? People shouldn't want to be that guy, but there are some people that don't really care. They have the money, they cut the check, they go and they show up and say, okay, get me to the top. Well, that's not fair. That's not fair to everybody else that's there.
100.
That's not fair to the guides. It's very dangerous, right?
Yes.
So, it's just not wanting to be that guy. And you're right, it's difficult. I think when people go to these mountains and they see, oh, well, there's that person up there that's tying everybody else up, we got to do something. And sometimes the guys will have the conversations with them and say, listen, well, maybe they don't get that far, but they'll get them off that rope and let the other people get by. So
they will do that?
Yeah, they'll move them over so they can get the other people.
So will they shove that guy back to the end?
They'll move them to the side and let everybody go up. Yeah, and then put them back on the line.
All right, so you're going to do your first 8,000 meter.
Right. So I'm going to do my first 8,000er next year. So it's the 8th tallest in the world. It's one of the 14 peaks. And then we'll go from there.
Why did you pick this one?
So a couple reasons. One, it's not an 8-week expedition. It's closer to 5 weeks. So it's a little shorter. So that's good for work and it's good for family. You know, it'd be away that long. It's a long time.
For sure.
And the cost is a little bit less. So it's just seen in the mountaineering world as if you're going to do an 8,000er, there's a few of them that are good first ones. It's one of them. So the timing.
What makes it one of the ones to do?
I think, well, it's a good, they use it as a prep mountain for Everest because you get all those skills that you use on Everest. There's ladder crossing over crevasses. You're climbing on the fixed rope. You're going up to 27,000 feet. It's pretty high. There's 4 camps along the way. So you're getting that exposure to being uncomfortable. You're sleeping in those tents at high altitude. So you're using all the skills you're going to use on Everest. It's just not as long. Why the cost is a bit less? I think because it's a shorter expedition. You're not paying for 8 weeks. You're paying for 5 weeks. So it's a little less expensive. So those are 2 of the reasons. There's a couple other mountains that are seen as good first mountains, Cho-Oyu and Shishapangma, but they're on the Tibet side of the mountains. And getting the permits from China can be challenging. So, and sometimes they don't issue any permits. So groups or teams will come together. Okay, we're going to climb Shishapangma, put in the applications for the permits, and China denies everybody. So
why
nobody
would they
goes.
do that?
I have no idea. And nobody will go. So, you know, that's a risk. It's a huge risk because you've paid all that money. You've taken that time off work to not get the permits and not be able to do the climb. So Manaslu is a bit more stable in that regards. And the timing works out well. It's a fall climb. It's a September climb. So that worked out for me as well. As opposed to a spring climb, it just works better for me. So that's the reason I'm going to do Manaslu. I'd been talking to Adriana from AG Adventures for some time about it. And we were trying to figure out a good time, a good year for me to do it. And, you know, earlier this year or last year when we were on Kilimanjaro, I think is when we kind of made the decision that this would be a good year. Next year would be a good year because I have these other climbs set up already. So that'll be my first one. And then after that, we'll see. I mean, I never say never. It's a conversation with my wife, with my family, and we'll see. I mean, I won't be done climbing, obviously. I'd like to do Aconcagua as well. That's a big one in South America. It's one of the 7 summits. It's also a 2.5 week expedition. It's a big one.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'd like to do Elbrus in Russia. That's another 7 summit. So that or Mont Blanc. Mont Blanc is seen as one of the... So Mont Blanc and Russia are sort of argued about which one's the 7th summit because people that climb Mont Blanc don't want to go to Russia to climb Elbrus and everything that's going on in the world right now with Russia.
Fair enough, yep.
So, but Elbrus is higher than Mont Blanc. So those are things that are on the radar. Will I do another 8,000er? Maybe.
Maybe go higher?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so Everest is the tallest, but is it the toughest?
That's another $1 million question. You ask a lot of people. I've not climbed it, so I can't say, but they say you climb Everest for the bragging rights. You climb K2 for the respect. So K2 is the 2nd tallest mountain, but it's called the Killer Mountain. It's very, very difficult. There's certain sections that are notorious for, you know, taking climbers out. But I think the mountain, if I'm not mistaken, with the highest death rate is Annapurna. So Annapurna it's not one of the tallest. I think it's in the bottom 5 or 6 of the 8,000 meter peaks. I mean, it's like saying Mike Tyson is not a great heavyweight boxer anymore. I wouldn't want to fight him. So Annapurna is about...
according to Jake Paul.
Yeah, of course. 8,040 meters around there for Annapurna 1, but the death rate, and you won't believe this, is 1 in 3.
Fuck me.
So, you know, Adriana Brownlee, again, I keep referring to her, hearing her tell the story, you know, they're sitting in the tent and, you know, everybody's looking at each other, looking to your left, looking to your right. And, you know, one of you is not coming back down that mountain. That's the death rate's 33%. So it's a very risky climb. And it's one of those climbs that typically is done by the mountaineers that are looking to do the 14 peaks. It's not the one that, you know, you go to do your first climb. I want to go do Annapurna. It's not typically that mountain. And the reason why it's so dangerous is that it's literally crumbling. So there's avalanche all the time on that mountain. And if you happen to be where those avalanches are happening, there's a good chance they're going to get you. Yeah. So
the leading cause of fatality in climbing.
Oh, geez. I think, well, avalanche is a big one.
Yeah.
Avalanche is a big one. It takes a lot of climbers, unfortunately. And then, you know, the high altitude sickness, just getting cerebral edema, pulmonary edema. You sit down for a break, you just don't get back up. Accidents, people fall, they slip, and you fall. You think, oh, I'll catch myself. Well,
the fuck you will.
Let me tell you, there are sections on some of these mountains. I mean, when I did Cotopaxi, to take a rest, I just leaned forward to rest my head against the ground, the snow in front of me, because it was so steep. You're climbing, it's like you're going up a ladder, but fully exposed. Because if you look back behind you, you're looking down the mountain.
Dude, that would trip me out.
So that's how steep these mountains are. And if you have a slip and you're not roped properly, or you just can't catch yourself, you can literally fall off the mountain. It's a very bad day at the office. Yeah.
When you talked earlier about climbing, because I've seen this in a few movies or documentaries, where you used a ladder to cross these crevices.
Yeah.
I would freak the fuck out. Like, dude, that's insane shit. Yeah. Because there's so many X factors in this. It's not just your own skill you have to contend with. It's the baddest motherfucker out there, Mother Nature, right? And if she decides that she doesn't like you that day, that's it.
Yeah, you got to get through there as quickly as possible. You don't think about it. You just do. You just got to go. You trust in your guide. You know, you trust in the team that set up that ladder. If you're using that example for the ladders, you trust in the team that put it together, that tied it up for you. And
but then there's human error.
There's human error. People fall. It happens, right? But they're roped. So typically, there's a video that I've seen a few times. A few people have sent it to me of a guy. I think it's on Everest, and he's crossing one of those ladders, and he falls off. He basically falls off, but he's tied to it, thankfully. Yes. And they did rescue him. But I mean, that'd be pretty terrifying.
Yeah, and psychologically, that's going to fuck you up.
Sure.
Are you going to want to continue after that near-death experience?
And that's that whole mental battle. That's, it's such a huge component because the whole time, even when you're feeling good, you're not feeling great.
Yes.
So, you look at that bag of chips when you get on an airplane and the way it blows up. Or if when you go to Denver, you go to Colorado, you bring a bag of chips from Toronto, you get there, you take it out of your bag, and like, geez, it's all blown out. Well, that's what's happening inside you as well when you're at high altitude, right? That pressure. There's less pressure in the air. So that's what's happening as while you're acclimatizing, it's getting a little better, but you don't feel great. So you're always having that battle in your mind that, okay, do I really want to do this? Like,
I love it, man.
Do I want to do this? And you push and you push and you push and you do that summit, you do that climb, and it's amazing. It's an amazing
that mental
feeling.
Discipline is that, again, much respect for that, because it would be, again, you give in a normal day of sports or any kind of training, it's not life or death. Right. It's the next day. For you, that ego perhaps of saying, fuck you, I'm not giving in, could be your life.
Yeah, could be.
Is there any time on your ascent or descent that you're like, well, I guess descent, you're fucked, you're committed. The ascent that you're like, not sure if I should do this.
On Cotopaxi, there was about a 5-minute window when I used that example where I rested by leaning my head forward, and I looked back and I could see the exposure because I could see the climbers coming up behind me. For not even 5 minutes, it was probably a minute where I thought, I don't know if this is a great idea. I don't really know if this is a great idea. But then I said, nah, you can do this. You can do this. Just, let's go. And I did. And we did it. Coming back down, now you really see it because the daylight's up, the sun's risen, and you're looking down, you're like, wow, that's steep. But that's probably...
Sorry.
No, I was just going to, that's probably the only time.
So on the descent, though, is it still just as dangerous? I mean, we talked about... you just want to take a rest and then you're fucked. But is the actual descent, and we're not talking about the physical aspect of being hard on the knees and the ankles, but is it an easier way down?
It is. Physically very difficult. On the mind, I think it's easier because you're going down to safety.
Oh, yes.
I'm going down on my friends. I'm going down on my family. So there's no question. I'm not stopping to take a little break or maybe go back up. I'm going down.
Right.
Physically, it's very difficult. And people forget that. I think physically, it's probably 50-50. It's almost as hard as the going up. Sometimes even harder. The knees just take a beating when you're going down that steep hill, and your ankles take a real beating. People often complain about that. Your toes in your boots, they're smashing on the front of your boot. Right, so the whole way down, if your boot doesn't fit properly, even if it does fit properly, for several days or many, many hours, you get to the bottom. I mean, I've lost nails on both my feet. You're usually all bruised up at the bottom of your feet or your toes when you get down because your feet just take a pounding on the way down. But yeah, no, there's no question when you're on your way down, you're going down to safety. You're going down to your friends.
So mentally, that's got to be at least easier to take.
Yeah. How
fucked up are you after your climb?
You are physically exhausted. You're elated. You're so happy because you've done the climb. You've come down safely. What a milestone,
man!
It is. It's a huge milestone. It's something you've been training for, planning for, and if you've made the summit, it's incredible. And even if you've only gone up, maybe you haven't made the summit, but you've gotten down safely. Even then, you're still elated because you've done an incredible job. But physically, I mean, you were wrecked. You were wrecked. That's why so many will chopper out afterwards. So especially in Nepal, we take a chopper down to Lukla and fly back down to Kathmandu, or go directly to Kathmandu, because the hike back out for 4 days is, it's brutal because you're so exhausted. It really is. You're exhausted. You're not eating. It's awful. And the camping.
Yeah, I'd be I'd be like getting a fucking jet. All right, come pick me up. If I could do it, get to the top and have somebody haul my ass out,
come get me.
I would really consider. And the camping, fuck the camping. So this is incredibly demanding on your body. right? Even just preparing to do these climbs.
Yeah.
How do you recover?
Sleep, a lot of food, a lot of drink, a lot of liquids. Because I'll lose on a 2-week expedition, I'll lose 10, 15 pounds, and a lot of it's muscle.
I thought it'd be more.
It's
oh
muscle.
yeah, for sure.
So, I'll come back down and you just feel terrible. But once you get back down to lower altitude, so we'll use Nepal as the example. When you come out of the mountains and fly down to Kathmandu, you're back at, I don't know, it's maybe 1,000. I can't remember what the altitude is there, but it's not bad. You feel amazing, especially after that first sleep. You get back to the hotel, you have a shower, which you haven't had in a long time.
Shitting in the woods.
You have a hot shower, you can clean yourself up, have a shave, and have a sleep. You wake up in the morning, and let me tell you, Bruce, it's the best feeling in the world because the buffet breakfast is waiting for you. You're going to go have something to eat. You're not going to feel terrible about it. And then,
can you actually just go and eat, like fucking chow down, or do you actually have to be rather conservative?
You have to be conservative because your stomach's shrinking, right? So if you were to just go down and have a big steak dinner and a lobster dinner and eat whatever you want, you'd be sick because your body's not used to eating that anymore. So you almost have to acclimatize your stomach back to eating regular food. So, but it's nice. You can go down, you can have a nice meal, you've had a good sleep, and you recover. But it's physically, it's really tough. It's really tough. I'll send you some pictures as well from me at Amadamba Base Camp, and you'll see my face just from the sun as well because you're so high. You're burnt to a crisp, and the wind, and it's you don't look yourself anymore. It's really interesting to see, but yeah, it takes a few days, but you start feeling better.
How do you tolerate the cold? Like you don't do any like ice bath and shit like that? do you?
No, I don't. You become comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Got to do it.
That's what you got to do. So it's you got all the gear, you wear your equipment, you wear your down and whatnot, but you're never warm. You just get used to it. Yeah, or you don't, and then you don't do the sport.
Yeah. There's just so many things that are appealing to someone with my mindset, but like I said, the fucking camping.
You know what? You could do it. I know you could do it. You might not love it, but you could do it, and it's not that bad.
Dude, I hate sleeping in tents. I fucking hate it. And then the fact that the food is shitty, that's a deterrent. But just to say that you did something that very few people on earth have done, holy fuck, man. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to do the 8,000 this year,
next year,
next
fall.
year, sorry.
Next fall.
I forgot we're in the summer already. Yeah. And then do you not have to make the mental decision of what you want to do next? Like, isn't there some comfort in knowing that there's something after that?
Yeah, and I'm already planning what the next one will be. So after Manaslu it'll either be Aconcagua, Elbrus, or Kili again, because I'll bring a group back to Kilimanjaro. So there'll be another climb shortly afterwards. But in terms of big like 8,000er, I have to have that conversation with my family because it's Manaslu is the one that's 5 weeks or so. If I go to another 8,000er, we're looking at a 2-month expedition, and that's a very long time to be away from family and from work. So
for sure.
That's the big challenge.
And your work is cool with you fucking off for 2 months?
My work is pretty good with it. Yeah, they're pretty good with it. They're very supportive. So the boss that I have now, my supervisor, he's very supportive. I'm in a unit where I can take some time off. I have senior people on my team that can step up. I'm one of the supervisors. So I'm lucky in that sense, but it's a big ask as well, right?
Sure.
Hey, boss, I'm going to be gone for the next 8 weeks. Oh, okay, right? So, and then I got to go home and tell that boss as well. So
That's
it's
right,
very,
the
it's
real
very
boss.
difficult. The real boss. So it's very, very difficult. But there are conversations that'll be had, and we'll see how it goes on Manaslu. And you do one 8,000er, I'm sure I'm going to want to do another. So we'll see what comes in.
Okay, but then the argument could be I could go away for 5 weeks, or I can go away for 8 weeks and do Mount Everest. I can just imagine my fiance, babe, I'm going away for 8 weeks. The fuck you are. So
yeah, it's a tough sell.
Yeah, for sure. And now you mentioned that you want to take your sons. They're interested in climbing.
My youngest, I was in Colorado, I guess about 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
So I took my youngest, my 11-year-old, on a fairly short hike, but we were at 10,000 feet, 11,000 feet. It's not easy. And for the first half, he was doing great, loving it, laughing. It was a great time. But then the last half, I think he used the words, "This is the worst day of my life." So we got to the top.
He's only fucking 11.
He's
though,
11.
Man.
He's 11, and Dad pushed him. But we got up to the top. We had the photo. The look on his face says it all. It's priceless. And then I got him back down the mountain. He's like, "I'm never going to do that again." But I think hiking, yes. And my eldest, my 19-year-old, and my daughter has expressed interest in doing some of the hiking. I don't think I would want them to do the climbing.
Why?
Because of the danger. As a parent, to put them in that kind of a risk, I would be, I don't know that I could do it. I would love to do the hikes with them. And Kilimanjaro we could do together because that's really a hike. It's not, you're not hanging off the side of the mountain. So Kilimanjaro we could do, maybe a couple of other mountains, but to send them off to do some of these other climbs because of the risk, it's funny, right? You look at the risk for yourself, it's okay, but with someone you love,
one would
family,
say
right?
that might be hypocritical.
Yeah, no, for sure. But, I think as a parent, knowing that, hey, my son's going to go climb this mountain and I know what's going to happen there, that he's going to be hanging off the side and it's dangerous. It's a little harder sell internally. But to take them trekking, 100%. Yeah, my daughter I think would be great. She's very fit. My son as well. My son plays rugby at university, so he's very, very fit. I think he'd do great.
Your son?
My son does.
At 11?
No, my eldest son.
Oh.
My eldest. I have a 19-year-old as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the little guy.
Like fucking 11-year-old in university? Doogie Howser, motherfucker?
Yeah, no kidding. I wish. But no, he's amazing, and I think he'll become a good trekker, a good hiker with his old man.
When you say there's villages on the way up, what do you like? There's people that live there all the fucking time.
All the time, yeah. There's little villages all along the way, and there are people, little kids running around. It's so cute. I mean, I would bring school supplies with me because these kids have nothing.
Yeah,
they are poor, right? So,
well, I mean, what the fuck are they doing?
They live in the mountains, right? What do they do? They farm, and they don't have anything. So I like to bring school supplies for the kids, but. Yeah, you hit these little villages, and there's all these tea houses. It's set up for the trekkers and the climbers. These tea houses, which is like a little hotel-ish kind of thing. They have a central room where everybody sits and eats and warms up at the yak dung fire, and then the little rooms that are like very, very basic, but it's shelter from the wind and the cold. So it's still cold. Your bottle of water sitting on your nightstand's ice, and the next morning it's a block of ice.
Really?
Every time, block of ice. Oh yeah, because it gets down well below freezing in the night, and those rooms are just like walls. There's no insulation whatsoever. It breaks the wind, and keeps you dry because the rain doesn't get through. But I mean, there is no insulation whatsoever.
So the people that are living there full time, they must have better accommodation.
I think where they live, it's probably a little bit better. They probably insulate those, and it's a little bit better. But they're also used to it. They live at 4,000 meters, and that's where they are all the year. But they're used to it, so they.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, they're. The Nepali people are amazing. They're resilient people, especially the ones in the mountains. They're all very kind. And, they really have nothing, so they're just amazing people.
See, this conversation is precisely why I started this podcast, just to have a conversation like this. Yeah, it's truly a blessing for me.
Yeah, I mean, every cop when you first start and you're out there and you're chasing down the bad guys. I mean, that was the first 5, 6, 7 years of my career, right in downtown Toronto, 51 Division, very busy division, lots of drugs and gangs and whatnot. So. It was very busy, and then we were out there running around, making lots of arrests, getting guns off the streets, lots of drugs. And then, around year 10 and 11, I think it was around 11 that I got promoted, and I became a sergeant. So now I was shipped off to the northwest end of the city in 12 Division, also very, very busy. Lots of gangs living up in that area.
12th Division is where?
Well, it's at Black Creek and Trethewey.
I used to actually work. There was actually a fucking just shooting.
Yeah, a little boy died. 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And Martha Eaton Way, where it happened is like 2 minutes from the station, like very close to 12 Division. It's very sad, like horrendous. I used to
work when I was younger at a bar at Black Creek and Lawrence.
Oh, okay, yeah, right there. Yeah, really close.
When I was there bartending, it was robbed and they killed my friend.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's a busy area as well, 12 Division. So yeah, there was a supervisor. It's
not the best
different.
area.
No, it was very challenging. Very good coppers up in 12 Division because there's a lot of the gang members live up in 12 Division. So when I was working downtown, a lot of them would come downtown to ply their trade, so to speak, right? But then they would go home, and it was 12 Division, northwest end of the city. There's a lot of them that live up in that area. But some really great people up there too, like lots of nice homes, nice people that love the police. But it's a very challenging area to work. And then I was able to go back downtown because I'd come from the investigative side when I got promoted. I was in the detective office already as a detective constable. But I wanted to go back downtown and work as a detective. So when the opportunity came up.
So I hear that term for people that don't know. What would be the job of a detective?
So as a divisional detective, and that's what I was, in a divisional criminal investigation bureau, you're sort of the jack of all trades. You're investigating everything up to homicide or sexual assault. So if I would go to a sudden death call or a call where there was a potential homicide, we would go first. If we deemed it likely to be a homicide or there was something suspicious or just didn't, we thought it was a homicide, the homicide squad gets called and they take over. So once it's deemed a homicide, they take it over. With sexual assault, the same thing. We would do the investigation, and certain sexual assaults we would investigate and keep as our own. Some would go to the sex assault squad as well because we have a specialized unit for that with different resources. But I would process arrests. I would write search warrants. I would write warrants for people's arrest. You know, we investigate a certain crime. Somebody makes a report. They've had their home broken into. We would get that report and we would investigate it. And if we determined who it was, we could take out warrants for their arrest. So we do all those things. We would attend a lot of the crime scenes. And that's what you do as a general investigator in a detective office. Obviously, the homicide squad detectives, they investigate homicides. The sex crime detectives, they deal specifically with sex crimes. But the general CIB is where I wanted to be. I liked having that little run of everything. So, and I had a great team, and it was a great division. It's still a great division. And yeah, I did that for almost 7 years. And then this opportunity came up to go back to uniform and work in the specialized unit. And I thought it sounded great. It's a nice way to try to help people. I know the chief really wanted this unit, and I think it's succeeding. It's a really good unit. We're partnered with public health.
Chief, you mean Myron?
Yeah, Chief Demkew, a great chief.
Yeah.
And it's been a really great unit. I've been really lucky to be able to work there, but it's very different from what I did before because we're not an enforcement-based unit. We're out there trying to provide support to these underhoused, like I was saying before, the underprivileged. You know, it's a great unit. So
it would have to be a different mental outlook. You know, I mean, dealing with people that are committing crimes with intention versus people that are just, by whatever circumstance, just down on their luck.
Yeah, it is. We have a lot more conversations with them because we have a lot more time with them as well. We're not tied to a radio, so we're not answering radio calls because there are a lot of radio calls and there are units to go in and deal with those. We're not a unit that answers those types of radio calls typically. We still do some of the radio calls, but so we have the time and the luxury to be able to spend with some of these people and have conversations with them, ask them like, what brought you here? How did this happen? Nobody wakes up and wants to. I want to live on the streets. Well, nobody says that. Nobody ever. Well, you know, I want to do drugs and I want to live on the street and not have a home.
What amazing stories you must hear! But they
stories.
Must also be heartbreaking.
They are horrendous, and you know, we meet a lot of veterans who end up on the streets.
That
and
to me is the greatest travesty.
It's very tragic, and you know, we do our best to try to help them as we do with all of them. But you know, some of them have stories. I come from a military background. My brother is an active duty military member. My father was retired military. So, you know, there's a special place in your heart for those people, and you really try to help them.
And they've paid their dues.
They have.
Right,
they man?
The country. They've bled for this country.
Some of them have gone overseas.
And we treat them as fodder.
Yeah, they sometimes fall by the wayside. So we do have some clients like that, and we really try to do our best to help them out. But it's, you hear some pretty incredible stories.
Oh,
really
I can
incredible
imagine.
Stories, yeah. And we're lucky to have that time we can spend with them and you know, do what we can to try to get them some help.
Are you able to get them off drugs?
There are some that we've had some success with, but they have to make that decision, right? You can't force somebody because they will always find a way to get that drug, whatever it is. But when they make the decision that they want to clean up, we're always there for them. So sometimes it's a phone call to the nurse that's working with them, and we'll give them all the supports they need. We've had some successes, though, for sure. We've had some clients that we see, you know, after we've seen them on the streets at their worst, and they're all cleaned up. Maybe they're back home living with mom or with dad, or they're doing really well in a program, and that's great. You know, those are the successes for us. And sometimes the success can be as basic as having a conversation with somebody who last month didn't want anything to do with you, sees you coming and goes the other way. We now are able to approach that person and maybe have a conversation with them. Maybe we can set them up for the day anyways. So the little wins are really good for us too.
All right. This was amazing for me.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Do Everest, buddy.
We'll talk.
I need that for you.
Yeah. I never say never. You never say never. The mountain's always there. So
it's not going anywhere.
No, it's not going anywhere.
Brother, thank you so much, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Be great.